Welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial, I intend to show you how to just back up a generic file set for the Windows agents. In order to do a file set on a Windows agent, what you'll want to do is just install the agent to a Windows server. And to do that, you'll need to first create a client. To install the agent and create a client, it's a three-step process. First, what you will want to do is come to the Clients and then Summary tab, and then go to Actions, and then select New. This will bring up a new client window, and here you'll create the client name. Once you've created the name, you cannot change the name without deleting the client and creating a new one. So while the name doesn't have to specifically be the name of the server or anything, you'll want it to be something that you'll know what you're referencing. So I'm just going to use Win7 in this case. You can provide a description if you'd like. It's not needed, but you can do so. And you'll want to select the operating system that you're backing up. In my case, it's going to be Windows 64. You'll need to get the address of the server that you're going to be backing up. And generally, we prefer the IP address for the machine, though you can use the host name as well. 2.42. And then you can set a schedule here, though you can change this later if you'd like. The default schedules that are deployed here all have backups that run every day of the week, with the exception of the one that is named just VM. Otherwise, the name scheme that we have set for them are named to reflect how frequently and when the full backup contained inside of the backup schedule runs. So the one that's named daily has its full backup run daily. The one that's named monthly second Sunday has its full backup run monthly on the second Sunday of the month. Weekly, its full backup runs weekly. So this one I'll set to run weekly. And then we'll click OK. Once we have clicked OK, it will create the name of the client over in the list over here, and we will need to activate the configuration. Once we have activated the configuration and the configuration has been activated, then we can move on to the second step of the process, which is to install the software onto the server that we're backing up. I'm going to go ahead and just back up the Windows computer that I'm using as my example here. So to get the software, that is under the Clients and then Software subtab. This tab will have a link to the most recent version of all of the most frequently used agent softwares that we have. There are a couple other versions of software that we have that are less frequently used, so we didn't bother putting them on the appliance. You can get a link to that on another tab of the appliance, but that's download from our update page rather than directly on the appliance like this. In this case, I will need the 64-bit, and I will go ahead and save that. And we'll just save that to the desktop for now. This saves the installer for the file. Once you've downloaded that, just run the installer, and that brings up our installer. You'll need to agree to the license agreement for our bit of software as well as for the Bacula software, and install. As the installation processes through, it will push any software that it needs. And then, of course, just install into Windows. This process may take just one moment for me. After the installation is successful, you can then launch the agent, and that will bring up the agent configuration tool. With the agent configuration tool, you can try and use Active Directory to locate the appliance, but since my appliance is not joined to an Active Directory domain, that wouldn't work for me. I'm just going to go ahead and select to manually assign the appliance information and then run the wizard. Run wizard, this just gives you a little blurb about how this will work. And then select to automatically locate the appliance. This will scan to find the appliance. Now, in this case, we're likely going to find quite a number of appliances. Since, of course, we have a number in the network. So I will instead manually assign, so 2.54. This will, if you are setting it up this way, this will be the password used to log into the appliance. And this will be the name that you assigned to the client on this tab. And this will download the configuration file automatically, and then also download all of the information needed to pair this agent software with this client. Once that's finished, you can apply the changes and then click OK. And then if you come back to the appliance under the Client Summary tab, we see that this agent is now communicating with the appliance. Now what we can do is finish the process through the third step, which is to set up the particulars of how we wish this backup to behave. And for here, what we'll do is we'll go through the process to set up the rest of it. So the other options we have under here is the disaster recovery image. This will be the schedule. If you wish to do a disaster recovery image backup, you can do that. That requires you to install an additional agent to the server, which is this Infrascale DR imaging. If you install that software as well, that does require you to reboot the machine after installation. And what that software does is it does a full disk image of all disks that are attached to the machine, including things such as thumb drives or external disks. But then it converts those disks to virtual machine disks, VM images on the appliance that can then be used in conjunction with our active, our local boot feature on the appliance, or our cloud boot feature if you have cloud replication enabled, so that they can be used for the disaster recovery features that our appliances offer. If you wish to use that, you'll simply set a schedule for that type of backup here, and those can run in conjunction with your standard file level backups as well. Disaster recovery backups, you can get file level restores out of those backups if you wish, so you can drill down into the DR level backups and restore individual files from within them. So you may not need to do both types depending on precisely what you're looking to do. If you wish to get more information about that, feel free to contact support and with the information that I'll provide at the end of the video. The appliance networking, this is only necessary if you have to do something special for the agent to reply back to the appliance. For instance, if you have to use a special IP address for the appliance to reply back, if you need to do any kind of network translation. Job retention, this is how long backups for this client remain on the local storage for the appliance. So currently this setting here says never delete full backups for this client. If I check this and change it like so, this tells it to only keep full backups now for 1 month. But then currently now differentials and incrementals are configured to keep for 6 months. This section, off-site job retention, is if I had a replication target for this system. This is how long those jobs would be stored on that replication target. Since I do not have a replication target for this particular machine, this particular section is unimportant for me, though in your setup it might matter. Offsite, this is going to be how you treat the data to offsite it. On a hardware appliance, you'll have one additional series of options here. I'm using a virtual appliance as my example, but there will be one additional series of options directly above here that says removable disk, and what that is that is to copy the backups after they finish to the archive disk. And so if you wish to copy your backups when they finish to an archive drive, and you'll have the option for full, differential, and incremental, simply check the box for whichever level of jobs you wish to archive. And then after those backup jobs finish copying to the appliance, then they will copy to the archive drive automatically after they finish. The other option here is to replicate. If you have the system paired with a replication target, either cloud or another system, this will replicate jobs for that client. Error recovery, this is if the job fails for some reason and you have this option enabled, the system will reschedule that job to rerun after whatever intervals you have set down here. So if you have it set to retry, it'll try here 3 times in 15 minutes. These options for VMware are if you have VMware clients enabled, so I will skip those for this tutorial. And then other options you have here are run before and run after. If you have a script set up on the server, then you can have the system run that script before or after the backups run, and you can have that configured here. The other options that you'll want is where you define what type or what files to back up inside of the file set, and that's done in this option right here for file set. If you want, if you're backing up a number of servers that all have the same type of files, say you're backing up a number of users, workstations, you can define a file set once under this shared file sets options here under clients and shared file sets, and then simply select that shared file set under the drop down here. Or if you're doing unique systems, you can click on this little notepad button here to define the file set for this machine. Under here you have the options to whether you want to use VSS or not. In my case, I'll set it to use the service without any special writers because I don't need that for this system. You'll have the option if you want to use any plugins here. In my case, I don't need to because I don't have any plugins on this system I need to use, such as the Exchange Mailbox or database. I'll skip those for the case of this tutorial. And then here's where you set what in the file set you wish to back up. In my case, I'm going to back up. I want to do just a quick tutorial for how to do a backup, so I'm going to set just a single folder on my desktop. And sometimes if the disk on the system is slow, like mine is, this can time out. If you wish to do multiple disks, you can do that here. Simply every new directory that you define needs to be on a new line. So if I wanted to include, say, a D drive, I could define that here, just it would need to be a new line. So I will define that I want to back up just this one directory, click OK. Now that I've made several changes, I need to apply those changes, and then I can activate my configuration. Now that the configuration has been activated, I can right-click on this client and select to make a manual backup. I can select which level of backups I wish to use, and in this case I wish to do a full. And now I can come over here and see that this backup is running. I can right-click on it to see the process. And see that it takes just a moment to initialize the agent. These are errors from trying to do the file browser before. I can also check and see if there are any errors inside of the backup, which there are not, at least not at this point. And now we simply just need to wait just a moment for it to actually begin the backup. Okay, now it has started backing up the files for me, and it is completed since there's only a couple of small files in there. Now, if we wish, we can come over here and we can see this file has completed, and we can see. Now, as you can see inside this file here, this folder here, I've got just a couple of small files. They were backed up. I'll go ahead and show quickly how to do a restore. I've deleted my folder, it's no longer here. If we want to restore those, you can right-click here under Jobs and History. There are a couple different places you can do a restore if you want. You could do that under the Clients tab. You can right-click on the machine that you're looking for, the clients, and you can select Browse and Restore from here. And that'll give you the option to do a range. So if you're not sure exactly when the files you're looking for were last good, you can come here and see a range. Or if you know specifically which day you're looking for, you can locate the job under the Jobs and History tab. In this case, I know when I'm looking for, so I can come here, go to Browse and Restore, and that'll bring this up. Now I can go ahead and drill down into what I'm looking for. And we've got a couple of files. Now I can click on the file here and that will just download the file directly. Or if we just go up a link, I can click on the folder here and select Restore. If I want to restore it to a different location, I can type in the new location in this line here. If I had a different client installed and wish to restore it to a different client, I could select it up here and restore it to a different client as well. But I want to go ahead and restore it back to the original location, so just select Restore, and that will go ahead and push that data back to the original location. And if we come back here, we can see my files have returned. I've got my files back. And that's how you create a client as well as start a backup and start a restore. If you have any other questions regarding any of this process or you'd like any additional information, you can feel free to contact our support department. You can find additional contact information on infrascale.com/support. Thank you and have a good day.